This episode of This Agile Life has been brought to you by BrilliantAgile.com, providing Agile and Scrum training, consultancy, and personnel.
BrilliantAgile.com. Done right, it's brilliant.
Released on Sunday, September 13th, 2015.
This Agile Life, episode 99.
Puns everywhere? Who put that question mark there?
Who put that there?
The software industry transforms more and more every day. Agile methods are quickly replacing traditional ones. The question is, are you agile enough? This podcast is devoted to agile and lean software development. Time to welcome your agile coaches on This Agile Life.
Hello, everyone. I'm the host of This Agile Life, John Sextro. Joining me on this episode, we have Craig Buchek.
Hey, everybody. My microphone has missed me.
Well, welcome back, Craig, and welcome back to your microphone as well. I'm glad we could get you two back together in this episode of This Agile Life. With us also, we have the one, the only, thank God, Amos King.
Yeah, I'm back by popular demand. I heard that we have a new hashtag called Too Much Tice, and they needed somebody back to squash his big enterprise brain a little. But he's not here tonight because he found out I was coming and ran away scared.
He wanted to do away with the hashtag. He wanted to help cool that over.
He wants to replace with just enough Tice.
All right. Well, we're glad to be back after our little bit of a vacation. We had Jason and Natalie and Matt Corwell and a few others up at Agile 2015, and they did a wonderful job pulling together some live reports from up there at Agile 2015. Thanks to Jason, Natalie, and Matt. And who else was on those episodes? I guess there were a smattering of some other people that they ran into along the way.
I don't know. I got to the second one and heard Tice's voice and shut it off.
Ooh.
I'm kidding.
Nice.
I'm kidding. I just got to keep going with this hashtag thing. I'm a little jealous of Tice because he's got a hashtag and none of us do.
You know, Amos, you're being very negative.
Well, that's because I'm just dealing with lots of negativity, and once a little poison gets in the well, it's hard to not drink from it.
So it's rubbing off on you.
I think so.
Maybe we should discuss how you could go about dealing with negativity in a team environment and on an Agile team specifically.
Well, and I think we need to discuss the types of negativity because maybe how you deal with them is different. Like sometimes you have people that are negative about the product or about the code or about working with customers or about writing tests or about collaborating with the project manager or estimations. Like I'm pretty negative about estimations. I'll give you that.
Does it really matter what type of negativity it is? Just the fact that there is negativity, isn't that enough? Or is there good negativity and bad negativity? Like there's good naked and bad naked.
Did you say naked?
Yeah.
There's bad naked? Oh.
Oh my gosh.
I'll refer you to the episode of Seinfeld where he defines what is good naked and what is bad naked.
It's like an old man naked. Is that bad naked?
That's bad naked.
Like a supermodel naked is good naked?
Yes.
Depends on the old man.
Okay.
I mean, Jack LaLanne probably looked really good at his age.
Maybe.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how we can follow that comment.
So the question was, is there good negativity and bad negativity?
I want to say no, there is no good negativity. But I want to go back to like John's first question, which was, do you handle it differently? And I think you do. I think some negativity rubs off easier than other negativity.
Yeah, I think that by definition, negativity and anything negative is bad. And there can be discussions, there can be criticisms, and those things don't necessarily have to be negative. But there is a certain amount of it that can be negative. If someone just is complaining without being interested in finding a solution, then that's negativity. That's not good for anybody.
I think negativity implies, there's something bad.
Yeah.
But you can commiserate and build sort of empathy with each other. I don't remember what it's called, but there's like a situation that soldiers in a foxhole will get into to build camaraderie. So there's a little bit of empathy building and camaraderie building, but usually it's outweighed by all the other effects, right?
On a team, you mean all of the bad things that goes along with that commiseration outweighs the mere fact that there was bonding that occurred. Is that what you're saying, Craig?
Yeah, exactly.
So, Amos, what are some things that you've been running into in your world, in your life? Are there some examples that you can give us around negativity that has occurred to you recently, or that you've experienced maybe recently?
All right, let's see if I can get this out without calling anybody out or talking
no
about
names.
specific companies or projects. I'm going to try.
Okay.
We're
talking theoretically.
So you have something going on a project and some feature, and it just, like, you're looking at it and it just doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem like it should be useful or anything like that. And you kind of ask a question about it to one of the other developers who's been around a little longer. And maybe they say, yeah, that's because that project manager is an idiot. And like, they start talking about how bad of a person that project manager is. And then you ask them, and you're like, hey, so did you try to talk to him or her about that? And they say, well, no, I went in there and they said it. And I was like, that's stupid. And I moved on. So the negativity affected me hearing about it, and affected the relationship with the project manager that he had, which had an overall negative impact on the quality of the product too.
One of the, I would love to role play this with you a little bit if you want to. I don't want to be too dramatic or too philosophical about this, but there are some tactics that I use when someone just makes a very generalized derogatory statement like that, right? So if the person would have said to me, if you asked about that particular feature, and the person came back to you and said, yeah, that's because the project manager is an idiot. One of the things that I do to kind of disarm them is to first say, yeah, I see your point. He's probably not the sharpest tack in the box or whatever, right? So I give you a little bit of ground, but then I would say, well, what specifically do you think is bad about this feature? And then I ask you to give me some more specifics. And I keep kind of peeling this onion back until I get down to the root matter. And it may be the fact that, this person is just mad at that project manager or that person because they were both up for the same job and he didn't get it. And we've uncovered that now and dealt with that negativity. But I think it's very harmful if you just let somebody roll a grenade like that out into your foxhole, like Craig was talking about, and let it go off. I think you need to deal with it.
And I think that these situations are a lot harder to deal with if you're the newest person on the team.
Well, I think you can play dumb because everybody expects that you don't know the history. And they'll probably be fairly honest with you when you ask them some probing questions about these situations.
That's a really good strategy. I like it.
So there, episode's over. We solved the problem.
Well, no, that's only advice for a new person, though.
And that's only one particular idea. I mean, there's all kinds of negativity that you
at a certain point too, you've got to decide whether it's just too negative for you to even stay, too toxic, and it's just going to bring you down and affect your family life and everything else.
Or even just affecting your work life if it affects your performance on that team. Like, their negativity gets to you and then you're not performing as well. And it only takes one negative statement often to cause that.
And then what do you do with somebody like that? What do you do when there's this level of negativity and it's just constant and it's coming from a particular source? Or is that what you're wrestling with right now?
Yeah.
Is it
And
one particular person?
It is one particular person.
I feel like there's this, you mentioned the poisoning of the well. And, once a particular person becomes that negative, it's hard for the team to get past that. Your retrospectives become entirely about either the negative things that are being said or that person in particular, and it just becomes a constant wound, a constant sore on that team that has to be dealt with or surgically removed or something.
And now, how do you deal with that whenever you walk into a team and you're new and the negative person is the senior developer on the team?
This is one time I usually think that a self-directed, self-run, self-organizing team is not the answer. I think that usually has to come from management and not the team members.
What do you mean by that, Craig? What about the self-organization is detrimental in this case?
For one, especially if it's the senior developer or the team lead, there's sort of a power imbalance there, right? And because of that, you can't really go and confront them about the problem. If it's more of a peer, you can at least go to them and, talk to them one-on-one as a peer and see if you can make a difference. But if they are your superior, you're probably not going to feel like you should or are able to without getting yourself into trouble or maybe even fired. So usually in that case, I would usually go to management and see if they can help address the problem.
In my particular situation, the senior developer is not just like a senior developer among a bunch of like mid-level developers. He's the only senior developer amongst a bunch of brand new developers. And then I came in to help out and to help mentor those younger developers a little bit. So I'm trying to be really positive for them so that hopefully I can combat some of the poison from him, but it does rub off.
So you're getting some of that negativity, but you're at least going to fake it till you make it. At least not let them see that in you.
Yeah, that's my goal, but it wears on you. At the end of the day, I am exhausted. I'm upset, and I don't want to talk to people.
Have you tried to befriend or get into the good graces with the person that's negative as a tactic for figuring out more about what's going on there?
So this person thinks I'm awesome and is very open with me. And it's like, you're the only person who knows what's going on here besides me. And I have tried to ask them questions. I've also tried whenever I was like, well, you just told the manager, the project manager, product owner that they were stupid. Like,
ouch.
Did you try to consider their point of view or ask them why? And then I discussed like the 5 whys to try to give him something that's different than an attack to use next time he's in that situation to help maybe curb his negativity or help him out. And I would like to say that this is a single instance, like this project is just getting to him, but I don't believe that's it.
So John, I think, is headed in a good direction here. Sort of the kill them with kindness and see if you can convert them to your side. I had success with that once in my career that just stands out. It was a problem customer, and so I basically made it my goal to, give them. They were the squeaky wheel, and I tried to make them feel like they were the top priority, and eventually gave them good enough service that they sort of became one of our best customers. It was kind of weird. But it didn't look like it was going to be possible going in, but it was a success story after kind of doing the kill them with kindness and give them an extra level of service, even though going in you feel like that they don't deserve it, right?
I think that helps build trust. And once you build trust, it's easier to change their direction.
Yeah. So in this case, that they didn't trust the support organization I was with, and definitely building that trust was what was required.
That's why with this person that trusts me, I've gotten to where I'm trying to suggest new tactics for him whenever he's talking to people. But how do you? Is there a way to, I don't know, to call them out on it without looking like a jerk yourself?
No.
Yeah, probably not. Not in a public forum, certainly. It would have to start off as like a one-on-one thing, and then if you couldn't find some sort of, intermediary area, you'd have to escalate that to management. But you'd have to be the downside. Here's the downside to taking the tact of befriending the person that's negative is that then there's the possibility of them feeling like you've betrayed the friendship by escalating the issue. So that can also work against you in some cases, but it's hard to tell going into it whether or not a friendship approach is really going to work.
There's another potential issue with befriending that person. If everyone else sees that person in a negative light, you're associating yourself with that negativity, and you could be seen in that light as well.
Right. That's another bad part of that approach. But if you have some access to the person and they trust you and they think that you're great, you can do some things like go through the empathy game with them, where you talk about the person that they're negative about and ask them to put themselves in that person's shoes. And what do you think that person's thinking? What do you think that person is hearing? What are they seeing? What are they saying? What are they feeling? Go through all of those 5 aspects of the empathy game and try and help them better understand the situation that others are in. I think most oftentimes people become very negative because they've turned the person into kind of a caricature of themselves. And so they're able to say that person's an idiot. And because they don't really see him as a person anymore, they just see them as this cartoonish, pointy-haired boss from Dilbert that they can complain about and make fun of and stuff.
I find that once you've tacked on the word manager to somebody, it's easy for a lot of people to tack on that character of the pointy-haired boss. So when you say project manager, it's easy for them to say, "Oh, that guy's dumb," or "That girl's dumb. She's stupid."
So, John, you mentioned the empathy game. What is that? I'm not sure I've heard of that before.
Well, it's pretty simple. I'll include a link to a write-up on it in the show notes. But again, you go through the 5. There's the 5 aspects of empathizing with somebody, and you put yourself in their shoes and say, you and that person, you and the group. Maybe you're doing it as a retrospective exercise. Maybe Amos is doing it with this single individual. You go through and you say, let's talk about what this individual sees every day. What is it that they're hearing every day? What do you think that they're thinking every day? What are they talking about every day? And then what are they feeling every day? And by going through that, you start to put yourself in that individual's shoes and thereby start to build some empathy around what it's like to be that person. You're hypothesizing that they're hearing about these things and they're seeing these other things going on and they feel distressed because of it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Go ahead, Amos.
You said that there were, did you say 5?
Yeah.
Things, and I think you kind of laid them out with questions a little bit, but are there names for those 5 things that you know off the top of your head?
I guess they're kind of like senses in some way, even though that's not really what they are, but it's just, it's seeing, hearing, feeling, thinking, and saying are the five aspects of the empathy game.
So I wonder if, do you guys know what object writing is?
I don't.
Okay, object writing is where I give you a time limit and I tell you to write with all of your feelings. You need to write about something with all of your feelings, and then I give you an object like let me look at my desk, a quarter, and then you just start writing for 10 minutes. But you're supposed to use all of your senses in your writing, and I wonder if that could be a good exercise with them. And say, hey, I want you to write for 10 minutes about this person that you're being really negative about.
I think that's another good approach. Yeah.
And then maybe even say, write it from their point of view now. Write it from your point of view and then write it from theirs.
Yeah. Anything that can help give them some perspective and put themselves in the shoes of the other individual can be very helpful. And just having gone through, I've done this with groups where we've done the empathy game. And simply by going through the exercise of doing the empathy game without even focusing on outcomes or ways to improve, the mere exercise of putting ourselves in that person's shoes has often given people enough perspective to help them not solve, but to give them a bit more of an insight into what it's like to be the other person and thereby solve some of the issues that are occurring as a result of the bad relationship that had existed.
So I had another thought here. Maybe holding an introspective with them, especially if there's a particular issue you could bring up, like you did with me that one time.
I have a little fear there.
Right.
Because I'm going
it's
to
hard
have
to go through
an
that,
introspective with someone who is super negative. And they're so negative and they talk about people all the time that if I'm trying to figure out how to confront them without confronting them, like to slightly like nudge them in the right direction, like a herding dog.
Not sure that's possible though. I mean, if they're headed, if they're facing the wrong direction, nudging them in the right direction is not going to be that effective, right?
Yeah.
What are the steps to performing this introspection?
We did an episode on this way back when, probably about 2 years ago.
Holy crap, it's been that long.
Yeah.
We can include a link to that episode then in our show notes.
We went through all the things that basically it was a single person retrospective about myself and a particular issue, and Amos facilitated it with me. And, that worked because I trust Amos. And it sounds like in this case, this person does trust Amos. So, but the difference here is that I was the one that instigated the introspective.
Right. You talked to me about it and said, hey, I'd like to do this. Right. And this would be me going to him. So how do I go to him and say, hey, we should talk about how much of an a-hole you are.
Well, the other thing that I'm thinking of is, what do you call it when all your friends gather around and tell you have an alcohol problem or something?
Awake.
No, it's called a party. Come on.
That's an intervention.
Yeah, an intervention. I mean, that's almost what I'm hearing is necessary at this point, maybe. But I don't know if it's possible. Is the problem.
Do you have other support around you that could assist you potentially with this negativity?
I think all the newer developers would be scared to do it because he is the senior guy. But maybe I could probably get the manager in on it, possibly. Like, I'm a little nervous to even tell the manager that I have this opinion that he's doing this guy is doing bad things. But I could probably get the recruiter that brought him there and he's working through their company. I bet I could go talk to them about it because I know that they trust me a lot.
So I think you have to reach out and try and build up some support around you to deal with the negativity. Or in some cases, what you have to do is you have to take everyone, with the exception of the person that is negative, and you have to pull that group together, and you have to say, guys, we're in a particular situation here. We've got this individual that has a lot of negativity. We can't fix that, and explain all of the reasons why you can't fix it, right? And then talk about, putting a circle around that person and saying, we're going to have to deal with this, but we want to try and find a way to put like a bubble around this person and say, we're not going to let them poison us or affect us. And we know that they're negative. We understand that. And it's just part of our life, and see if you can't, find some way to put some constraints around that negativity getting to be so pervasive on the team, because if it goes on unchecked, it is infectious.
And for me, the hard part is if this person worked for me, I'd fire him. And not because I don't think that the person is a good person in general, but I have a very low tolerance for this sort of thing. Especially because I know it starts to affect everybody. And so I would be like, you got to cut it out or you're out.
So
Done.
as a consultant in this situation, you have probably more tools available to you than most of the time. One of that tool is reporting to the manager that hired you on what the issues are. And I think that's a tool that you should probably use in this case. And like, hey, one of the things that's slowing you guys down is this person's attitude. And what can we do to improve on that situation? Or here are some thoughts that I had on how we might be able to improve on that situation. Because that's your goal there, is to help improve the team, right? As a consultant.
Yeah.
Now, what if some of this negativity was simply about like engineering practices, where you had an individual on the team and maybe they're just a stereotypical member of the team or a prototypical member of the team, and they're just entirely negative all the time about something like continuous integration or doing test-driven development? How might we go about handling that sort of negativity on a team?
I tried to mentor first, like through pairing. I will sit down and they start to write, and I'll say, hey, let's write a test first. And I try to be that, because a lot of times I find that it has to do with inexperience more than not wanting to. So I will try to be the person that takes on the weight of writing the test first. And I'll do a couple of them. And then I'm like, hey, why don't you try one? And that works frequently, but not always. Sometimes people are just like, no, I'm not doing that. And I'm not good at handling that one. I'll admit that. It's hard to admit when I'm lacking. Like in my ukulele playing skills, right, Craig?
And then
maybe I just don't like the ukulele.
Do you find yourself then avoiding situations in which you would have to interact with the negative individual in that way?
I try not to, but I will say that I'm a human being, and probably after a period of time, if the person is still that way, I will try to pair with everybody except for that person.
Right. And that's really bad, because you're the Agile practitioner / coach person that is supposed to be there to help build everyone's Agile toolkit, right? And now you're avoiding the exact problem that you were probably one of the problems that you were brought there to help deal with.
Oh, and I try to focus. I try to focus on the people that are receptive, hoping that building them up will cause this person to come along, hopefully, at some point.
But now you're also seen as a part of the problem by, sort of letting that person get away with it, or contributing to that problem. If not actually contributing to the problem, at least you're seen as that, and perception is reality sometimes.
Well, I think that's what you mentioned there, Amos, I think is a tactic to be considered. What you said was it's probably hopeless, or there's very little hope that you're going to turn the tide with the person that has the negativity. So rather than devote all of your effort to a losing cause, you redirect your effort towards the remaining members of that team, to whom they are, and those members of the team are much more receptive. So you build up a group of like-minded individuals, and then it becomes very apparent that there's one individual, the negative individual, that isn't keeping pace with the rest of the group.
Or he just gets so much peer pressure that he has to sort of join in with the rest of the group.
Right.
That's the hope. That's what you're hoping for in that situation, really.
Yeah, I mean that's probably your best case scenario in that situation, is the peer pressure forces the issue and helps the person with the negativity see the light and turn the corner. But it can also just as easily send them off the deep end the other direction.
Well, and sometimes I think we've discussed already that maybe the answer is for that person not to be on the team anymore. So sometimes that's what happens.
I found that the most negative people I've had to work with are lazy and not the good way, and usually have some kind of superiority, I really know everything complex.
Or they're in the wrong place. I think that's probably more common. They're just not in the right place for them.
Right. The problem is you have to very carefully tailor your approach based on what the realistic set of outcomes are available to you, because there are environments where the person is never going to be fired, even if, because you work and there are these out there, you work in like a union programming shop. We have one of them in St. Louis, and I won't mention names, but they make sure the mail gets to your house every day.
I worked there.
and there's, you're not going to get somebody like that fired. So sending that person off the deep end is only going to make your life worse.
You don't want them to go postal.
Puns everywhere. So I have been successful in what Craig was talking about was maybe this just isn't the place for them. And I believe Craig probably worked with me at some of these places where I didn't go in and
Amos wasn't the right place for him.
I didn't say, thanks, Craig. I didn't say you should fire this person. I came in and said, these are his good qualities, and these are the ones that don't work with his current team. It's very conflicting. So why don't we move him to another team? Even at one point saying, put him in charge of another team. He can't work with this team, but he would be really good as a strong lead developer. He just can't work with someone else who is a very strong developer.
Were you trying to promote him as a way to pass the trash, as it were?
No, I wasn't trying to pass the trash, and he became a fantastic leader.
Okay.
He really was, and I knew that he would be. He just conflicted with two people on the team, one of them being me, and I'm not going to name
being me.
Was it you?
I think so. Maybe.
It happened with two or three people that two of them I know you worked with me on the same team. So
yeah.
What about trying to do the five whys approach to, why don't, let's pick continuous integration as an example. If a person is very negative about that and that will never work here, how can you do sort of why won't it work here, and try and peel that onion back?
I usually just get the people that want to support it and say, well, you don't have to do it. We'll build it, especially with continuous integration, because they really don't have to do it. But when you say we're going to do TDD and you have a person not coming along, I feel very different. So I think this is very situational, because when you have one person not doing TDD, it really destroys everything. When you have one person who is unwilling to work on the build box, it sucks, but you can move up. You can get past it.
So I have a question for the two of you. How did you come to do Agile? How did you come across it and to buy into it? Did someone come to your company and say, hey, we need to do Agile? Or did you read about it and someone you trusted told you about it and you're like, oh, wow, that sounds like it might be useful?
John, you want to go first?
I guess I started to come across Agile in an abstract way, hearing others talk about it, and then it piqued my interest, and I started to read up on it on my own. Back in the archaic way of buying books and reading those books, and then I just started to use some of those ideas and practices, and slowly but surely kind of cultivated those into an already existing team, and I guess it just kind of snowballed from there.
Amos?
So my first programming job while I was in college, it just kind of worked agilely. They didn't call it Agile. They didn't really know what they were doing. I was writing a piece of software. I was the only developer, and the guy that owned the place would come in and we'd sit down and talk about what to do next. And so it was very interactive with the people that were using the software. I actually had the person who mainly used the software sitting right behind me the whole time. So it just kind of worked that way. And then my final year of college, I took a class on software engineering, which talked about waterfall and all kinds of stuff. And we had to buy 2 books, and one of the books was XP Explained. And then I went from there to that postal shop where it was the least agile place in the world. And I thought, oh my God, this is against everything that I've ever done and makes no sense to me. And the whole agile part of, seeing what users need and what they want and building what they need instead of what they thought they wanted kind of appealed to me.
So the reason I asked that question is that I think Tice is on to something when he's lately been saying we should invite people to these ideas instead of pushing these ideas on people. And so when we push people, the idea of TDD or continuous integration, we didn't have to go through that, and I don't know that we would have bought into it that way. So I think we have to be careful about forcing people into agile practices before they're ready.
Yeah, nobody wants something jammed into their face. Like when I was a kid, my sister loved the New Kids on the Block. And she used to always try and jam it into everybody's face all the time. She's like, you need to like this band, and they're good. And even if they were good, and even if they were the greatest thing in the world, I was never going to like that because she's constantly jamming it in your face all the time saying, like this, like this, like this. It's like, yeah.
you're going to resist when you're given that much push.
Absolutely.
So you gotta ease it in, I think.
I have teenage daughters, and I can tell you that anytime that you try to push them to do anything, there's a whole lot of resistance.
So your coworkers are all teenage girls, basically, is what we're saying. Nothing wrong with a team of teenage girls. Might be a little inexperienced at coding. Maybe we should strike that from the record.
Oh my God.
I think that's the show title.
Oh, no. Oh, boy.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. And I think our takeaways from this, as we've talked about negativity in the workplace and on your agile teams, is that you have to evaluate each situation based on the support structure you have around you, the set of outcomes that can realistically happen, and then try to map a path towards the most ideal outcome that you can. So like if you were an athlete and you wanted to envision yourself shooting that game-winning free throw at the end of a basketball game, you would kind of map out in your mind, this is how I'm going to shoot that free throw. I'm going to envision the ball going through the basket. And I think you almost need to do the same sort of thing with these problems, is you need to envision what's the path going to look like that's going to take you from here to a resolution, and then see if you can't somehow start to take little steps along that path. What do you guys think?
I think it's going to be a difficult path no matter what.
You have to be the ball, Craig.
You're not being the ball.
No.
Any other sage words of advice, fellas?
Good luck.
I don't envy you if you're dealing with negativity.
Software is easy. It's people that are difficult. Okay.
But that's the whole reason we do.
Writing software is a people problem. It's not a technology problem.
This week's hottest picks.
Hey, Amos, you are up first for the picks of this episode.
I have so many picks, I feel like Tice. Since he's not here, I'll try to channel him.
Hashtag too much Tice.
Hashtag too much Tice. So Joe Barnes told me that I have to have an adult beverage pick at every single episode that I'm on. And this is why I haven't been on for so long, Joe. So tonight,
because he's been sober.
Oh my God. We had an intervention for him.
Yeah. I just got out of AA. And so I had to go buy some first. That's horrible. Somebody's going to be mad at me.
I don't think that's what you're supposed to do when you get out of AA.
Oh, I failed. I failed out. They told me I couldn't come back. There's something about bringing bourbon to meetings. Not cool. I don't know. So I went out tonight and I got a 6-pack of random beers. And I've decided that the best one is Castaway. It's an IPA from Kona Brewing Company. It has a very nice flavor, especially if you like IPAs, a little citrusy, and it's got that bitter bite to it. I really enjoyed it.
Wait, you've had 6 beers tonight already?
No, I did not try all of them.
Oh, okay.
Did I say all of them? I did not mean all of them.
Yeah, you did.
No, there's no way.
But I see Craig's logic. How did you decide that this was the best beer?
I drank 3 of them.
I see.
If I drink all 6 of them, I wouldn't be able to talk to you right now.
So you did what we call you took a sample test.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
What else? What else you have for us, Amos?
So my next pick, I believe I picked before. John said that I may have picked in like episode 4 or something. Is Ruby Tapas. I've been suggesting that to some newer developers. I haven't watched it in a long time, but I still pay for it every month because I think it's a great deal and I want to support it.
Who's responsible for that?
Avdi Grimm. And he also has guests sometimes. Although I did look at the list today and there's a few of them that I really want to watch that have come out lately. And then my last pick is I was actually looking for a different web comic, but I couldn't remember the address for it. So I'll tell you about it in a second. But I picked Garfield minus Garfield, which is just the Garfield comics, but they've erased Garfield from all of them. So you get to watch John Arbuckle talk to himself and fall into this pit of despair. It's pretty entertaining. But the one I was looking for was Charlie Brown has cancer. So,
oh, no.
So the reason Charlie Brown is bald is because he has cancer. And it really shows you how horrible all those other children are.
He's not bald. You have as much hair as he has.
He's only got 3 hairs. That and it must be brain cancer because all adults go wah 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 wah.
So let's see. We've badmouthed people with cancer, and
it's negativity. Negativity is the thief, John.
Oh no,
that's right. We're only doing this to prove that negativity is bad.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Those are interesting picks, Amos. Question mark? Okay, my pick of the episode is something called Git Radar. I just saw it the other day. It's and I just download. I did a brew install on this just the other day and have it running in my terminal. It's nice because it gives you like this little heads up display ish sort of thing on your command prompt and lets you know like how far ahead you are of your branch or how far behind you are of the branch and those sorts of things. So if you're a user of Git, you may want to check this out. I know a bunch of people have implemented this on their own. And I really think it'd be a good idea if maybe everybody put their heads together and made just the best Git Radar heads up display sort of thing possible here. So go out there and check it out, and maybe you can put in some pull requests for things to improve it.
I want one that shows number of lines added and removed because I feel really great when removed is way larger than added.
I'm sure you could do that.
Looks like it does that.
All right, Craig, what do you got for us?
All right. My first pick is an article called When a Bad Surgeon is the One You Want. It's sort of a paradox about the way that we're starting to rate doctors and surgeons because maybe the good surgeons pick all the good patients and the bad surgeon that has bad ratings will try the hard patients. So, interesting article. My second pick is a site called Let's Encrypt. And it is basically free SSL certificates for your secure websites. It is coming in, I think, November. They were trying to get it out in September, but they've had to push that back a little. Pretty cool, and should make encryption work for a lot more websites. And my third pick is standing desks. I noticed Amos and I are both standing at our desk podcasting here, recording. And I'll also recommend a product called Stand, which is a little foldable stand that you can use to stand at your desk.
Ooh. Very good. Nice pick, guys. Thanks for the discussion tonight. To all of our listeners out there, thanks for listening. Please check out thisagilelife.com for our show notes and all of our past episodes. Thanks for listening, and keep living this agile life.
This Agile Life is brought to you by a community of Agile developers and coaches aspiring to spread the word about this groundbreaking approach to software development. Join us at thisagilelife.com/community.
Really the point. The point is get started, not to.
Sometimes a man has to make tough decisions.
Okay, Craig, you start us off.
All right, ready?
Yes.
Jerk.
We'll take it.
Including all of the...
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.